The Arts of Humanity, the show where creative humanitarians give you the tea on today's hottest issues and their personal experiences. Today's chat is all about artists as we spill the tea on using art for activism. Now, let's meet our panelists. Candace, I-Canny Anderson, Adia Baker, Kendria K-Love the Poet Harris, and Jason Johnson.
Do you think creatives and artists have a responsibility to engage with social issues?
I say absolutely, without doubt. I think that art is a language that is universal, no matter what kind of art it is that you create. And so since that's the thing that everyone is listening to in some type of way, I think that we have a responsibility to use ours to reflect what's happening.
Okay, over here.
I think art is like a social security card to me, because everywhere I go, it's like my credit, it's my credibility. Because we have a big platform and we have so many followers, we need to have our voice be heard. We need to say things. We need people listen to us. Like even when it comes to voting, when it comes to the presidential election, because we have such a strong force and a strong voice, it's important.
I can remember back a few years ago when Waka Flocka was asked about the importance of voting. And he had no idea of what to say because he was not learned. Like he didn't understand the voting process. He didn't understand why it's important to vote. But this is a man that, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of kids look up to and may want to even aspire to be like, that doesn't know basic information about like how our government works and why it's important to be a part of that. So I really think that in that responsibility of artists to use their platform, they also need to be responsible for reading, you know, studying. You know, you've got people at your disposal that can go get information for you. We have the internet, we have all of that. Read some books, talk to some people, ask some questions, and whatever your cause or your view is, just have some things to back that up and be able to kind of articulate that in, you know, in an intelligent way.
In my opinion, as far as that goes, when I speak, mostly I'm speaking about something that I feel, and that's something that you can't prove or disprove. Those are my thoughts, those are my feelings. You can't go find a book to tell you that that's true or false. And so I'm always confident in what I say because I know where it's coming from. It's coming from my heart and my soul. And what I feel like is we're too hard on people. Now, just because this person had a talent or caught the eye of someone who put them on and now they're on TV, this, that, or the other, there's this huge responsibility that comes over them and there's this expectation that they're supposed to know this and care about this. What if they were never taught? I did not come from, and I say this all the time, my parents are amazing people, but I didn't come from a conscious background. I didn't come from a background where my family was telling me about social movement or politics or any of those things. They did not teach me those things. And so I had to acquire a desire to know those things. And I didn't know before I knew. And so I feel like even with the people that are in the spotlight, because just because the spotlight is on you doesn't mean that you're well read or even interested in reading for that matter. There has to be a person that comes along with enough compassion and understanding and enough humility to remember when they didn't know and say, hey, let me teach this young brother about it. Maybe he doesn't know. Let me contact whoever that I think is lost. Like, for instance, Chief Keef. I'm a mentor. I have a mentoring organization. My view on Chief Keef is not he's ignorant, this, that, you know, or it's not that. It's like, man, I wish one of the people that I know, one of these strong brothers that I know in the community could have ran into this young man before he got this type of stardom so that he could have poured something into him, because obviously there's a lack there. So I think sometimes we lack compassion with our people in general, but artists as well. Like, they're just people. They're just people.
Do you ever worry that your wokeness, okay, I'm woke, I read the Bible, I read the Quran, or either I watch my YouTube videos or I...
Hotel.
I just know, right? But do you ever worry that your wokeness is working people's nerves?
I know for sure mine is. I'm a pastor's kid twice. Both of my parents are pastors, but they're both Leo, so they're roaring lions. And so it's just in me. Like, one minute I will have this big biblical, philosophical post like God is good all the time, and then the next minute I'm ready to cuss your ass out because it's like where I'm an artist. I'm very different, and it's not that I'm bipolar, but people like feel like I'm supposed to just be quiet and not talk about issues. As a salon manager, as an artist, being with different artists, we have these conversations that come up in the salon.
I know as far as wokeness is concerned, you know how sometimes you wake up early in the morning, 5 a.m., right? You might have people around you trying to sleep. And they get irritated with you because you up, you loud, you're making a statement, and they irritated with you because they're trying to stay asleep. And I use that metaphor in a lot of respects because pretty much a lot of times when you're conscious and you're aware, you say things that shake their foundation. They rather stay asleep.
Yeah.
They don't want to wake up. They don't want to face the reality. They don't want to go up, and they don't want to go do the due diligence to look it up, because if it's right, then it's like, oh shit, like everything that I've stood on,
I got to question
eradicated.
Yeah.
And now I got to start over.
And now I got to do work.
And when you wake up, that's what happens to you initially. When you
wake up,
once
you're breaking down those foundations.
Yeah,
It's not stable anymore.
and then once you wake up, you can't ignore it no more.
How do you cope when your personal or professional relationships suffer because of your opinions or your knowledge?
I've had that happen to me. So, you have those work friends that see you in one light, and we're at work, so there aren't certain conversations that are being had at work. So, everything's cool. But I'm friends with them on social media, or they may see me out, and I have very strong feelings about things. I'm very proud of who I am. I'm proud of my Nigerian-American background. And there are some things that, are spoken about on social media that I have very strong opinions about, and I let those opinions be known.
Can you give us like a really good example?
Okay, so like the whole the Black Lives Matter, that whole, movement, and the All Lives Matter kind of counter. Jesus. Okay, so, I'm one of very few people of color, even fewer Black women that work at my organization. And so I have strong opinions about, or I had a strong opinion about, trying to compare apples to oranges in reference to Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. Well, no shit, All Lives Matter. But we're talking about Black Lives Matter because that's who's dying right now. Right. And so I'm, talking about that and trying to explain it and how I feel about it. And so all of a sudden, to some individuals that I work with, that I'm also Facebook friends with, ooh, she's really Black. Yeah, guess what? I am.
Surprise!
Yeah, she really feels strong. Well, what did you mean by that? Don't you think all lives matter? And it's interesting because, again, we're all products of our environment and our experiences, and I'm having to kind of explain to them, you don't know what it means to wake up in this skin and have to, in corporate America, walking down the street, I feel like I'm getting hit from both ends. Because, from folks over here, there may be issues with violence and getting robbed and being told that I'm not Black enough. And then over here, it's like, well, Adia, you can't be the angry Black woman. You have to, do this. And so being vocal about that on social media and knowing that there are business partners or colleagues or what have you that see that, and will try to call themselves checking you about it later on, and I have to let them know, oh yeah, I'm prim and proper and professional, but don't get it twisted. Because when you all are in here talking crazy, I'm one of the ones to step up and be like, I'm sorry, do you understand what diaspora is? Do you know what that means? Do you know the ramifications that we've suffered generations and generations and generations later? There have been a few colleagues that have stopped talking to me.
And how you know when it gets really real is when you start grabbing stuff out of the air.
When the air.
This is when things have changed. When you start grabbing stuff out the air.
Exactly. They're like,
things have just turned.
What's going on? Yeah.
So it's funny that she said that. So I posted a poem that was like a remix to Beyonce's Formation. I posted just a part of it for National Poetry Month. Shout out to all the poets. And I was talking about, it started off with saying, and I'm going to style my baby hair with baby hair and locks. And I went into just talking about how when I have this child, I am going to really instill in them what it means to be proud of who they are. And then I started talking about my relationship, and I said something like, well, I'm at a Black tie in my Black dress with my Black guy, and I'm making sure that Black love going to prosper. Fuck the Oscars, we on our way to Red Lobster. Something like that, right? And so someone commented on my page, a white guy commented on my page, and he put a whole poem about love not being a colored thing, and it was kind of like shame what I said, and I deleted his comment because that's what I can do, and I inboxed him and said, I inboxed him to let him know I deleted your comment because this is not a platform for you to promote yourself nor try to discredit my message of black empowerment and black love. He was like, well, I just don't understand. Love is all people, all love matters. I said, you sound like, and someone gave me this analogy, you sound like the person that's at a cancer benefit for a sick little girl that's dying, who walks in with a sign like, well, diabetes matters too. We're not talking about that. My poem never once said anything about anybody else's relationship or whatever. My poem was about black love because I am black and in love with someone else that's black. Hence, the poem is about black love. I'm writing about my personal experience. Why do you take that as an attack on you? Because I'm talking about me. And this just reminded me of the whole Black Lives versus All Lives Matter movement. Like, why do you keep bringing that up? Like, this is not the subject at hand. And I'm not going to allow you to do that.
What kind of stories do you have about that?
I lost clientele. That's what I was going to say. I posted, it was like a meme that said, who do you call when the police is the murderer? Basically, we've always been told to call 911 when it's an emergency. So I posted that, and my police clientele, because I have a diverse clientele, and the police, my police clients, they actually stopped coming. They blocked me from Facebook. They stopped coming. It was actually two or three of them that stopped coming there. They felt offended by it because they are white and they work in Inglewood. So they felt like, I'm one of you. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not. Because for you to be affected by that comment, it made me feel like, are you guilty of that? You should have understood that doesn't go toward you. It goes to what's happening now. Who do we call when it's 911?
People are so narcissistic. Like, why do you think everything is about you? Me pronouncing how proud I am of being black is not about insulting you. It's
not at all.
Not at all. How I feel about myself on the inside. So as far as losing, I know people who lost their life for this movement. I am so okay with losing a job, with losing a friend.
How can more creators lend their voice and their influence, their platforms, to important social issues, but in meaningful ways?
Well, I think whatever it is that you do, consider that, take that, and then sit with an important social issue. Sit with it. Don't immediately, I always say I'm not one of those type of poets that waits for tragedy to happen so I could quickly write a poem about it so that I could get booked at a bunch of shows, because I don't move like that. For instance, when Hurricane Katrina happened, I was a part of a collective and they wanted me to write a poem about it, but I wasn't in a feeling place about it yet. And so I declined writing a poem, and it's not that I didn't care about what happened. I just knew that I couldn't, I hadn't begun to feel it on a deeper level. And that's the energy. And I wasn't ready for that. I could have wrote something, but it would have been ingenuine. And I don't perform works that are ingenuine because I believe that my words is healing for myself and other people, and it's something to take serious, so I can't just write some bullshit. So take the issue and sit with it and find a way to connect with it, an honest way to connect with it, and not a bullshit way of connecting with it, but honestly, try to turn up your empathy button and feel like, how could this relate to me? How would I feel if this happened to me? What if this were me? And then create from that space, whether it's a poem, whether it's a painting, whether it's a song, whatever the case may be. But wait. Sit with it, make love to it, and think about how it affects you, and then put something out that's a real reflection of who you are, that way that it's genuine and it's sensitive, and that will open a lot of people up. I think that's a really good way to start conversations using your art or your creative.
I would say create with self-awareness, because pretty much, when you create, it's because pretty much it's something that's touched you or compelled you in a way for you to give expression to it. Everything may not move you, everything may not move you. And you're doing yourself a disservice, and your message won't be authentic when you're forcing yourself to create with something that doesn't move you. But when something moves you, when something really, touches you, when it resonates with your spirit, then create with authenticity. But it has to be from a place of self-awareness, because if you're not really in tune with that issue, you're not going to really be able to give it your all.
And what's from the heart reaches the heart.
Exactly.
Okay, Candace?
I would have to say experience. It took me to almost die from being a mortician. I used to be a mortician. So working with the dead and then almost having a near-death experience, I basically left from being with the dead, realizing that I had a voice, because I'm working with the dead. They're already dead. They don't need any uplifting. I can't tell them, oh my God, you can make it, you can face it. No, you're dead. So now with the platform that I have now, I feel like I've been given a second chance to basically have my voice and to continue to speak. Sometimes I'm told I'm a rebel. Sometimes I'm told I say too much, tone this down. I even have my mentors like, delete that post. And I'm like, why? This is my expression. This is who I am. And I have people who literally thank me, or who literally do the things that I might suggest to them just because of me having the voice, just because I'm able to speak. So I'm basically helping the Walking Dead.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to see the latest episodes of The Arts of HumaniTEA.